This time on the crazy world of CEX, we are hunting in central London. And no other area in the entire world had such a concentration of CEX stores as there is in central London. So this weekend, we are seeing how many of these stores we can hit up in one time and finding out if the big city has some big deals. Let the game hunting commence. Welcome to my continuing mission to visit every CEX store in the entire world. From the weird to the wonderful, the big to the small, I am here to visit them all. This is the crazy world of CEX. Hello again folks, and welcome back to the crazy world of CEX. My continuing adventure to try and visit every single CEX store in the entire world. And there is no better place to get loads of these stores visited than in central London. So many of these stores are just a tube stop away, which means over the course of one weekend, I can visit a few more stores. It'll be really interesting this time to see what's in store at CEX, just because there's such a greater catchment area for these stores, which means more people will be bringing stuff into the CEX stores. But it also means more people will be buying, so it'll be interesting to see what we can find in these larger stores in the middle of the largest city in England. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button and please subscribe. There is so many CEX stores all around the entire world that it's going to take me a long time to visit them, but who knows, I'm going to be hitting up your local store and you don't want to miss that episode. Now, off to the train station, a short train ride away down to the big city of London. Here we are then, bright and early on a Saturday morning at Norwich train station, ready to head down to London for a full weekend of CEX hunting. And here is the thing, it's all about planning and preparation and working out which CEX stores are nearby on tubes. So a short tube ride away from London Liverpool Street is our first CEX store at Goodge Street. This is actually just round the corner from the original CEX store, which I visited last time in the crazy world of CEX. And not to judge a book by its cover as such, but this window is not exactly filling me with hope. We got some board games, some D&D books, and the lesser spotted PlayStation 5 console, but let's hope for some more stuff inside. After the very underwhelming window, let's go inside and see what else we can find. So straight to the glass cabinets, and unfortunately most of these at the front seem to be full of like mobile phones, tablets, headphones, just bits like that. And at the end of the day, I know a lot of people aren't just going into CEX to buy retro games, but seriously, who is going into CEX to buy these CEX branded caps? I don't think I've ever seen anyone buy or wear one of them. And this is the thing, I know a lot of people do go into CEX either to trade in or to buy new mobile phones, but you'd think at least they'd have some retro games like in the glass display cabinets at the front. So far, very disappointing. But fear not, hiding right at the back of the store was some retro games in the glass cabinet of dreams. We have a Wii U game with a reprinted cover, the absolutely extortionate wireless N64 controller for the Switch, which I just don't even get me started. I think it's disgusting the number of people who have bought them and sold them to CEX on eBay for a profit, because I have had a nightmare trying to get one of them and I really want one. But so far there's nothing really that's blown me away in here. There's nothing like that I need to pick up instantaneously. Don't get me wrong, there is a good selection of retro in here, but you know, some days you do go into CEX and find absolutely nothing. Like there's some good Master System stuff, some Mega Drive stuff, but nothing that's really jumping out at me. And this is normally the case. At the end of the day, I guess it's luck of the draw whenever you go into a CEX store. I think this is a first for me, the first time I've ever seen PlayStation 5 games in a cabinet. No idea why they're there, not exactly high value or anything. A couple of decent PlayStation 1 titles, nothing amazing to write home about. A really good collection of PlayStation 4 controllers. And speaking of PlayStation 4, if you are looking for a PlayStation 4 console, this store has you sorted. There is so many PlayStation 4 consoles here. And I guess it's the thing, you never know what you're going to find in CEX, even if it is a third party, but still sealed, PlayStation memory card. I am really surprised how quickly CEX have got so many copies of Resident Evil 4 in. Yes, I know it's a single player game, but this was about a week or two after this game came out, and already the shelves were absolutely packed with it. And perhaps even more surprising, the lenticular cover is the exact same price as the standard. I know which one I'd be picking up, how about you? Heading to the PlayStation 5 section, remember that game that was sealed in the glass cabinet? Don't worry, there's also some copies on the shelf here. So going through the PlayStation 5 section, this is a section which I think has got a lot better in CEX. Like when the PlayStation 5 first came out, these games were really expensive. Like normally about market value or higher in CEX for second-hand games, but Fear not, if you are looking for a copy of Resident Evil 4 on the PlayStation 5 rather than the Xbox, CEX also have you covered. I just cannot believe how quickly this game has absolutely filled the shelves. I think I'll definitely be waiting for the price lower on this one. Heading over to the handheld section, and we are going from the PlayStation 5 to the PlayStation Vita. And again, this is a console which is getting harder and harder to collect for. This is actually a large section. Yes, a large section of PlayStation Vita games. Some pretty good ones here, but again, these are getting super expensive. And this is the way that I think the 3DS will go in the next months, if not definitely years. I do not think there will be such a thing as a cheap 3DS game. So if you are putting off building your 3DS collection, I would just bite the bullet and do it now, as these games are only going to go up and up in value, so you might as well buy them now before those prices inevitably rise. And speaking of small sections, here we have the Nintendo Wii U with reprinted covers and everything. I have got about half of the games they ever released for the Nintendo Wii U, and it is getting harder and harder to find a game I don't own, like this game, Game Party. I did pass on this today, but these are the kind of filler titles which are cheap now and going to raise later. A slightly longer tube ride, and we arrive in one of my favourite parts of London, Camden. And I've been to this CEX store multiple times before. Whenever I come down to a gig or to just visit London, I normally head down Camden. I always head to this CEX store, and straight away in the window it looks like they've got a real drive on PlayStation 5, the brand new Switch and the newest Xbox. Let's head inside to see what they're hiding. While not tiny, I would say this is one of the smaller CEX stores. But you know what they say, the size of the store doesn't matter, it's the stock they have inside. So you can see all the games are just against walls in here. It's a pretty small store, but let's just see what we can find. I'm going to head straight down here, straight to the end of the store, as I can see the trademark white sides of the Wii games. And this is something that does kind of annoy me. I can kind of understand why they do this, but why they mix up the Wii and Wii U games. Now we have a game I've been meaning to get for a while, Amiibo Festival, but I want it boxed with the Amiibos. It does kind of bug me when they mix the Wii and the Wii U games together, but I can understand it because the Wii U section would be absolutely tiny. And I think the same could be said for the DS and 3DS games. More often than not, these are getting mixed in together. But this one does make it slightly annoying. More annoying than the Wii and Wii U, because at least with the Wii and Wii U, you can tell by the blue covers. And with the 3DS and DS, it's not really as easy. And just see how the mighty have fallen. PSP and PS Vita tucked here in a dark corner back of the shop. Heading back to the front of the store, to the glass cabinet of dreams. This is a bit of a weird one. So we've got GameCube, Mega Drive, Master System, original Xbox. Probably the first time I've ever seen original Xbox games in the glass cabinet of dreams, and definitely the first time I've seen PC games. Like, I can't imagine any of these PC games warrant being locked away. Heading down here, this is more what we're talking about. We got some SNES, some N64, some Mega Drive. Lurking at the back there is definitely a game I was very interested in. Some really clean Game Boy games. Some of these games are getting old, and to find them in this good condition is really, really surprising. And also a Wavebird in decent condition. Like, to have this with a receiver as well. This is a controller. It's getting harder and harder to get, and one I do need for my collection. Like, if you're going to play GameCube, you might as well play it wirelessly, and that is one of the cleanest GameCube controllers I've seen in quite a long while. Now, I was very tempted in this copy of Wet Tricks for the N64. It is a very underappreciated puzzle game. Unfortunately, I did check, and it did not come with the manual, which was really disappointing, as the outer box was in absolutely fantastic condition. Very much like the DuckTales next to it, but this is the thing. It's all about the lottery when you go to CEX. This is possibly one of the cheapest Xbox One games I've ever seen in CEX, probably for a reason. I think this is an online-only game and the servers are dead, so essentially you are just buying a coaster in a box. But let me know, all of you crazy collectors out there, are you still buying games even if you can't even physically play them online? Let me know in the comments down below. I think there is no better time than now to collect for the Xbox 360 because the prices are at bottom dollar. You can pick up games like this, Dynasty Warriors Strike Force, which is a £1.50 game. I know nothing about this game, but I've never seen this one before. I've seen a lot of Xbox 360 games, and I think now is the time to pick up some of these like weirder titles you haven't seen before, because in the coming months, years, and I do mean years, they probably will go up in value. Games like this one as well, Azura's Wrath, a slightly rarer game which got a lower press, is already a £20 game, but I think in the next few years, games like this will absolutely skyrocket in value, so grab now while they're cheap. I love it when I go into a CEX store and come across something like this. Like, why is there so many copies of Tales of Symphonia for the Nintendo Switch? And lest we forget, if you trade in more than 3 copies of a game, you actually trade it in at wholesale price. But don't worry if you're a PlayStation 5 gamer. There's also copies here for the PlayStation 4. So I just don't understand. Does anyone know sometimes why CEX gets absolutely piles and piles of the exact same game? I believe there's no better time than now to pick up PlayStation 4 exclusives. That's because a lot of these games are getting very cheap. Yes, they were mass produced. Yes, there's tons of copies of these games. And while this might not be one of the best exclusive games, it's always the exclusives that go up over time. So buy them now while they're cheap. Our next stop was Clapham Junction, and spoiler alert, this was possibly the best CEX of the weekend. You can tell why. Straight away in the window we got boxed N64 games, one of the hack games on a PlayStation 2 if you're a PlayStation 2 collector. Keep it tuned because this is not the only hack game we find in this store. So let's head in straight to the glass cabinet of dreams. We've got PlayStation 3, God of War, another one of the hack games. Now, correct me in the comments down below if I'm wrong, but I think there is 4 hack games on the PlayStation 2, and so far we have found 2 of the 4. Now, this store, hands down, of the entire weekend, had the best selection of retro. Absolutely stacked with N64 games, both loose and boxed. A small amount of games hidden at the back there, but this was just the start of the retro iceberg in this shop. We had boxed Pokemon Red and Blue, a boxed Game Boy Color, some absolutely incredible Mega Drive games, including Streets of Rage 3, which has been on my wish list for a very long while, and a lot of these games were boxed and complete, and it was just all in really nice condition. When you are looking for retro, this is exactly what you want to see when you go into CEX. There was also some really nice loose Game Boy stuff in here, including this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which I have never seen before. Definitely keep an eye out for that one if it's a £60 game when it is loose. But yeah, this shop was just absolutely stacked with retro. Let's hope they got some good modern games also. We are going straight from the retro to the bang up to date with the PlayStation 5. And having a look through this section, it was a very small section, but hopefully there's some gold hiding in here. And I would not say The Last of Us Part 1. Yes, it's an incredible game, but I would not pay £52 for the PlayStation 5 version of this. If you are looking for a cheap PlayStation 5 game to pick up, definitely grab Road 96. This is one of the best story-driven games I've played in years, and for £12 it's an absolute must-have. A quick little dip into the Wii section, and if you have not played either of the Medal of Honor games on the Wii, these are both super cheap and these are super awesome games. I know what you're thinking, Medal of Honor on the Wii, really? It's a good game? Yes, it's essentially a kind of light gun game on the Wii and works really well with the Wii controls. Trust me, check it out. Jump into the PlayStation 4, and I said it earlier in the video, now is the time to buy PlayStation 4 exclusives, and now is the time to buy this game, Dreams. From the same people who made Little Big Planet, this is essentially a game-making game. Unfortunately, servers are shutting down soon, so pick it up while you can, and very close next to it, now is a great time to grab PlayStation VR games for cheap, and this game, Eagle Flight, looks awesome, and for this price, I'm definitely going to grab this one. A fairly small but fairly decent selection of GameCube games in here, including some games you don't see very often. Sadly, nothing that I really needed for the collection. I was quite tempted by Simpsons Hit and Run, but that game is getting quite expensive on just the GameCube. Well, on every console in general, but especially on the GameCube, and I can't believe they're selling copies of Wii Fit Plus. On to the 3DS to see if we can pick up any cheap games. I'm surprised the Spider-Man game isn't more expensive. Nothing really is jumping out here either. Again, the problem is with the Wii U, the 3DS, sections like this, you have to kind of just jump in and see what there is store to store, as these consoles are all going to go up in price, but sadly, nothing today. Definitely in this store, some of the sections for certain consoles were very small, like the PSP section here. I do always have a good look through here because I just think too many people at the moment are passing up on the PSP. Chili Con Carnage, by the way, is an absolutely fantastic game. That Marvel Rise of the Imperfects is an overlooked game. You can see here a very small original Xbox section. Again, I think this is a console which is cheap to collect for now, but for how much longer do we know? Because Like many of these consoles, the PlayStation Vita is getting more and more expensive to collect for, especially when you look at games like this Silent Hill game, which has a reprinted cover for £75. If I'm paying £75 for a PlayStation Vita game, I want it complete and the original packaging. I am actually amazed that this CEX store had 3 of the 4 hack games released for the PlayStation 2. A lot of PlayStation 2 collectors will search for these for absolute ages, and to find 3 of these games in the same store is absolutely crazy, and just an example of what I love about shopping in CEX. On to the next. The next store on our weekend whirlwind trip is Wandsworth. In a shopping centre. It's a smaller CEX store, but again, don't judge them by size, so straight to the window, and there's an absolutely beautiful Wii U in the Zelda paint job. It's an absolutely fantastic console. We got some GoldenEye, some Paper Mario, some Zelda 4 Swords, some Pikmin 2, just some absolutely fantastic retro bits in the window. Very Nintendo heavy, but that is what we like, especially Donkey Konga 2. Let's head inside and head to the first class cabinet of dreams. And I have a feeling the manager of this store must be a severe Nintendo fanboy, as it seems everything in the window and the glass cabinet of dreams is mainly Nintendo. So we have box SNES games. This Syndicate was quite tempting, but it wasn't quite up to scratch. We got some loose N64 down here. We got some really nice NES games. I was quite tempted by this copy of RoboCop, but the label on top was a little bit damaged. We got some nice loose games, a really nice copy of Castlevania for the Game Boy Advance, and some really interesting other Game Boy bits in here, including a copy of Metal Gear for the Game Boy Color. £55, very tempting. Hiding here at the bottom of one of these cabinets was an absolutely awesome selection of GameCube games. And yes, I did pick up one of these GameCube games. I've been looking for this game for absolutely ages, and this copy was in amazing, absolutely breathtaking condition. It literally looked like a brand new copy of this game, and I am super happy to cross this GameCube heavy hitter off my list. Guess what game it is now? You'll find out when we head back to Games Room for the pickups. I was actually a little bit surprised by the smallness of the PlayStation 5 section here, including some empty shelves. It's something I don't see very often in CEX. I'm sure they were probably just sorting the store when I went in. It was quite early on a Saturday morning, so I'm sure they were probably just doing a little bit of a stock take or a little bit of a rotation, heading over a very small Wii U section. But it's always good to see the Wii U section separate from the Wii, and also the 3DS section was separate. It's just little things like this that kind of make stores better for myself. It just makes the shopping experience a little bit easier. Sadly, nothing I really needed for the 3DS, but Metroid was very, very tempting. Although this was quite a small store, there was still quite a lot to see, and upon moving to the Xbox 360 section, there was somewhat of a surprise. Like a few months ago, when the Spider-Man hype was real, you would have not have thought that this game would be down to £12. This game was, I'm sure it was like 20 something pounds recently. And I just think this is one of the things about CEX, is knowing the market and knowing the games that go up and down in value. It just seems like a lot of these Marvel games are thankfully coming down in price, because it's games like this, the Hulk Ultimate Destruction, I really want to get for the collection. If you haven't played this one, it's a great kind of free roaming adventure game where you can literally destroy everything and Hulk smash. Fairly good Xbox 360 section here, but nothing sadly I wanted to pick up. You can always tell it's a small store when it has a Blu-ray section that is only 2 shelves and a children's DVD section which is only 1 shelf. But I think this is good, because sometimes I think CEX stores do just absolutely fill themselves with DVDs when we're mainly looking for games. And here's a PlayStation 2 game I've never seen before, and an online game. Like, let me know if you've ever played this game before. I've never heard about it. This is one of the smallest PlayStation 2 sections I have ever seen in a CEX store. And sadly, I think this again is the way things are going to go in the next few years. The PlayStation 2 sections will get smaller and smaller, and sadly, eventually, one day, they may disappear. This boxed Wii Zapper was very, very tempting, but the big question is, did I want to carry this around London for the rest of the weekend? Let me know if you would have done it in the comments down below. Here we go then, our final CEX store of the weekend is in Whitechapel, and again this is a fairly small store, But let's check that window and see exactly what is in store. So on the side, nothing really sticking out here. We got some Xbox stuff, couple of controllers. I can see the Super Mario themed Switch there, a Zelda controller, which I'm very interested in because that is a really nice design. I've been after a Switch controller for a while. Obviously some more Nintendo Switches, nothing really to see up here. An iPad, because why not? But yeah, this Zelda controller is a thing of beauty. But enough window shopping, let's head inside for the final time this time and see what is in the glass cabinet of dreams. And in the front here we've got some GameCube, some N64s, some Switch, mainly consoles, nothing too out of place here. Still trying to get another look at that Zelda controller, really can't stop thinking about that. Some Switches, let's head down here and have a good look for some retro. So some more controllers, and then we've got some really nice SNES game. Doom is one you do not see very often. We've got some NES games and even some Mega Drive games hiding at the back there. Trying to get a better angle here because hiding at the back is a game on the Dreamcast which I've been looking for in decent condition at a good price for a long while. It is WWF Royal Rumble. I am trying to go for the complete WWE and WWF game library, and that is one that is sorely missing from my collection. But the thing is with Dreamcast games, the box needs to be in good condition, it needs to be easy to open, it needs to have the manual. So here's hoping, and fingers crossed I can pick up this boxed, complete mint Dreamcast game. Next up, let's head to the Xbox 360 section, as recently CEX have been absolutely slashing the prices on some of these Xbox 360 games, and this is the thing about the pricing, you have to keep an eye on them like a stock market, because games like The Amazing Spider-Man used to be a lot more expensive, and periodically large swathes of these games get a lot cheaper. I've seen this especially recently while I've been doing the PlayStation Platinum project. So many of the Platinum games have all come down £2 or £3, while a lot of their black label counterparts have gone up £2 or £3. So it's always worth checking some of these Xbox 360 games that used to be a bit more expensive. They might have gone down and got a lot cheaper. And here is the thing, the Xbox 360 section is getting smaller and smaller. So when you find games that are cheap now, it's probably best to pick them up. A lot of these games probably are not going to get much cheaper than they are now, so buy them cheap now or pay more further down the road. Sadly, Whitechapel did have a very small Wii U section with even more Spider-Man games. I think somebody just traded in all of their Spider-Man games for every console at one time. Very small 3DS section, but there is one game hiding in here which I have been putting off for a while. I do need to get soon, and that is Kid Icarus Uprising. This is the kind of game on the 3DS which I think is going to get super expensive, and why not? One more Spider-Man game, Edge of Time, even if it is the NTSC release, Naughty CX. Heading to the PlayStation 5 section, this is a section which I just believe has got so much better over the years. There is some cheaper games now finally in CX for the PlayStation 5. Like, I think when the PlayStation 5 first came out, they were essentially charging retail for most of these games. When they're secondhand, you can probably buy them for the same price brand new off Amazon. It was kind of not worth going to CX for PlayStation 5 games, but now they're definitely pricing them much more competitively, and there's some really good deals to be had on the PlayStation 5, especially now as everyone can actually get their hands on a PlayStation 5 console. And this is a really nice surprise. I'm sure we've all played The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, but the complete Game of the Year edition with the PlayStation 5 upgrade for 20 quid, if you don't own the game already, I think is an absolutely fantastic offer. Let's have a little look at the Xbox Series X, just so it's balanced. We've looked for the PlayStation 5 section, so let's look through the Xbox Series X section, even though I don't actually have the console yet. But, you know, why has that ever stopped me from buying games again? But here is a quick moan. We gotta have a moan at some point in the video. This, for me, is one of the biggest disappointments of recent years. It's a Star Wars flight simulator game. How can it be bad? How can it be so boring and so lifeless? Another bad game, Road Rage or Road Rash. You know, it's essentially a follow-up to Road Rash, which should have been awesome. I don't know what this game was. It did look pretty cool. It was a collector's edition. Let me know in the comments down below. Last little trip to the PlayStation 4 section, because there is a game in here that has intrigued me for a while. Let me know in the comments down below if you have played the Blair Witch game. I'm a big fan of the original movie. I just don't know if this transpires well into video game, but let me know in the comments down below if you played it. Finally this time, if you did not know, there is a Twisted Metal TV series in development, and when a new video game based TV series comes out, that can mean only one thing: the value of the games goes up exponentially. So I even wanted to pick up this Twisted Metal game on the PlayStation 2 for £10, which, trust me, I think is going to go up a lot more in the coming months, or this game, Twisted Metal, on the PlayStation 3. £10 and £12 are both good prices for these games, but trust me, in the next few months, I think the price of these is going to absolutely skyrocket. Which means this is the time to pick up these games now, or just reside to the fact these are going to be more expensive down the line when everyone is aboard the hype train. And speaking of the train, we are on our way back to the fine city of Norwich after an absolutely amazing weekend of game hunting in CEX. Yes, the London stores were amazing. There's so many more. I will definitely be back in the future. But for now, back to the games room for them pickups. But of course, just before we head back to the games room, I wanted to head to my local CEX in the heart of Norwich, straight off the train and straight to the Wii U section. I had not managed to find a single Wii U game I needed for my collection in London, but here we have one. Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. These Wii U games are getting harder and harder to find, and sometimes it's not the big exciting games like Minecraft or Super Mario or even Rayman you need for the collection. It's the weird ones, the shovelware, the games you do not see very often. Going along here we have Your Shape Fitness Evolved. This is the kind of Wii U game that's going to get harder and harder to find, and the kind of games I'm trying to pick up now, and as a bargain it's £2. Now, back to the games room for those pickups. Here we are then, back in the games room after an absolutely action-packed weekend of game hunting in London, and of course a visit to my local CEX store in Norwich. Now, one thing I would say, it does seem like there isn't as much retro as you'd expect in the heart of London. I expect it's because when there's a decent item in these stores, it does not stick around long, but that still doesn't mean I didn't manage to pick up some awesome bits for the collection. Now, sadly, in the first CEX store we visited in Goodge Street, there was nothing that really took my fancy. But fear not, in the very next CEX store in Camden, one of my favourite parts of London, I managed to pick up my first game, which is this, Dynasty Warriors for the Xbox 360. And I've never seen this Dynasty Warriors Strike Force game before. And when it comes to Xbox 360 games, I love collecting these. And if it's a game I've never seen before, especially with a price tag of £1.50, I'm going to pick it up for the collection, because it's the more obscure games like this which I think are going to be harder to find in the coming years for the Xbox 360. The Order 1886. This is a kind of game I'm picking up for the PlayStation 4 at the moment, the exclusives, as a lot of these have got super cheap at the moment. And I think when it comes to exclusive games, these are only going to go up in value over the coming years, as the only way to play this game is on the PlayStation 4. And yes, I know what you're thinking. There is a lot of negative press about this game. I know it's super short. I know it's mainly quick time events, but sometimes it's fun just to enjoy a shorter game like this. A game you can complete over one weekend in 1 or 2 sittings and just enjoy the storyline, put it on the shelf and never really go back to it. But let me know in the comments down below. If you've played The Order 1886, did you enjoy it? Yes or no? The next store we visited was in Clapham Junction. This was quite possibly my favourite store of the entire weekend. They had a really good selection of retro in here, including some really nice N64 bits and some really nice Pokemon games. But what stood out for me was they had a really good selection of PlayStation VR games, which, like the PlayStation 4 exclusives, I think are going to get really expensive in the coming years, but thankfully are super cheap at the moment. And this is a game I've been meaning to pick up for quite a long while, Eagle Flight. That's because I think this is the perfect kind of game for PlayStation VR. The kind of simplistic games which just really grab the idea of VR and just use it so amazingly. If you haven't seen this game before, it is exactly what it says on the box. You are an eagle, you have to fly through checkpoints and do all eagerly things. But it's just the VR gives such an immersive feel to this game. And for £6, it's definitely worth picking up if you enjoy your VR games. The next game I picked up is a game I've been meaning to pick up for absolutely ages. It is Dreams for the PlayStation 4, and this has both VR and standard content in the game. Now, if you did not know what this game is, I think it is a bit of a hidden gem, which sadly is going to die very, very soon. So sadly, support for this game is shutting down in September of 2023. So now is a really good time to grab this game, especially as it is only £8. Now, if you do not know what this game is, essentially it is a game maker within a game. For the people who made Little Big Planet, you can make some absolutely incredible content with this game. And fear not, if it is all too in-depth for you, there is so many people who have made incredible content for this game. But we are on a severe timeline for this game. As I said, the servers for this game will no longer be supported after September 2023. So now it's the best time to jump into this game and experience this absolute experience of a game. Wandsworth may have been the smallest CX store we visited this weekend, but it goes to show big things come in small packages, as I picked up this copy of WarioWare Inc. Mega Party Games for the GameCube, and this is in absolutely incredible condition. For a game from all the way back on the GameCube, this is in absolutely pristine condition. Obviously it's boxed and complete. It looks like it's never been used. And this has been a game which has been on my list to pick up for the GameCube for absolutely ages. And if you're a collector like myself, you will know it's getting harder and harder to collect for the GameCube. So being able to tick this one off the list is an absolute fantastic find. Our final stop this weekend in London was in Whitechapel, and as soon as I saw this in the window, I knew I had to pick up this Zelda Power A wired controller for the Nintendo Switch. I just love the design on this, I just love the gold on this, and it surprised me that this was just literally listed as a third-party Switch controller. I guess because there's so many designs, they just list it this way, so it's easy for them to buy and sell them in store. But I think being able to pick up the Zelda-themed one for the price is an absolute bargain, especially with absolute Zelda fever gripping the nation at the minute with the release of Tears of the Kingdom. I have been looking for this game for absolutely ages. WWF Royal Rumble on the Sega Dreamcast, and Dreamcast games are so hard to find in good condition. Yes, it has a lot of sticker damage all over it, but the main thing is the case for this game is in absolutely fantastic condition. And if you are a Dreamcast collector like myself, you will know that these cases are absolutely flimsy, and this one is in absolutely perfect condition except for these stickers, and I'm sure a little bit of goo gone will make that goo gone. I have been on a mission to collect every single WWF and WWE wrestling game for a long while, and this is a fantastic one to cross off my list, especially for £10. Our last pickup this time from the Whitechapel store in CEX in London is Twisted Metal for the PlayStation 3. That's because I think now is the best time to pick up these games, as they've just announced the Twisted Metal TV show. And the same thing will happen. That happened with the Last of Us games. As soon as that TV show is announced, and even more so when it was released, the price of the games went through the roof. But I am very interested to see how good the Twisted Metal TV series is. It may be good, it may be bad, but if nothing else, having Samoa Joe as Sweet Tooth is an absolute genius move. Exactly as I expected, this game has gone up exponentially already. So I picked this game up for £12 at the start of May. Now, on the 22nd of May, it has gone up to £18 already. And I don't know if it's going to get even higher. I'm sorry if you haven't already picked this game up. It's already got up £6, but here's hoping it doesn't get even more expensive as the hype continues. Back in Origin for the final time, I was hitting up the Wii U section trying to find some games missing from my collection. If you don't know, there's not that many games released for the Wii U in the PAL region, and so far I have 65 of them, or should I say 67, as I picked up this absolute behemoth, Your Shape Fitness Evolved, for just £2. It is the shovelware games like this which I think are going to get harder to find for the Wii U in the coming years. I was also very happy to cross off Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. These are the kind of games that are cheap now for the Wii U, but I think in the coming years these are going to get very expensive as people struggle to collect for this console with a very small library. There we have it then, folks. That is another episode of the crazy world of CX, and 5 more stores crossed off the list of the hundreds of stores there are to visit in the entire world. But let me know in the comments down below, as of yet, have I visited the best CX that London has to offer? I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned, as who knows when I'll be visiting your local CX next time in the crazy world of CX. See you soon.